Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the world famous podcast, Beating the Press, with myself, Ty, and obviously we've got Kristian with us as well. As always, if this is the sort of content you like to listen to and football's your thing, do that magical thing, click that subscribe button at the bottom, let your friends and family know about it as well. So today we will be discussing the upcoming Premier League season. I know it started, but we purposefully missed out the first match day because we wanted to have a look at those teams that have bought the new players in and then have more of an informed decision when we make our predictions for the season. So obviously the Premier League kicked off with Brentford Arsenal. I don't think many people would have predicted Arsenal to get rolled over, although some people may well have done. So first game of the season with Brentford Arsenal, and Brentford did to Arsenal what many a team have done to Arsenal over the years, and they just couldn't live with the intensity. So I'll pass over to you, Chris, and you just give us a bit of what your thoughts were from the opening match day of the season.
Yeah, so it's funny you say with the preview, we kind of held off our predictions, and I'm so glad I did, because I was looking at my notes, because we did actually plan previously to do like a preview prior to the season, do our predictions, but we thought, no, we'll just see how the teams start off and that. And I was looking at my notes, and I had, could Man City go the whole season unbeaten? And I'm just so glad that I didn't have to bring that thing quite up. But yeah, obviously we started on Friday night with Brentford, who I thought were absolutely superb. It can't be overemphasized that the crowds being back, and it was just unbelievable. I think it's just because the crowd weren't there, and it's that placebo effect, but it almost felt like they were louder. I don't know what it was. It was just absolutely amazing for a new club to come up. Everyone to be in the ground. It was just class. And firstly, I just wanted to say that about the Brentford supporters, especially when Saka came on and they were so respectful to him. It was just everything about the occasion was brilliant. We've obviously talked about what happened in the summer with the England fans. This is the other side of football. That was brilliant. But onto the game itself, I think this is one of the games where you can think there's a chance that there's going to be a bit of an upset here, especially for the newly promoted teams. And obviously they didn't disappoint. Arsenal, they just kicked off from where they were at the end of last season. I was looking at the results at the end of the last season. They are the top six side that obviously I'm most worried about. I'd say they're probably my second team in the Premier League, and they're just way off the pace at the moment. I always think of it. You remember when we were Liverpool of the 90s, and you always have that one team in the top, let's say 3 or 4, who most mid-table teams to bottom table teams think we can get a result against them today. They'd show up against the Man United of the Fergies, and they'd just be like, right, we'll rest a couple of players because there's no point in the play. A cup final like game against Liverpool, and now they're doing it against Arsenal, and then they'll probably get turned over by Burnley or whoever they are playing next week. And that's the situation that Arsenal are in at the moment. I can't see Arteta lasting much longer. But yeah, the worst thing about that performance was they got outfought. And you can't go into a game like that. And I was just looking at the lineup before the game, and there's not a lot of players with a lot of experience. Obviously, there's no captain, there's no leader in the team whatsoever, and obviously they're missing Aubameyang, they're missing Lacazette on top of that. Just compounds everything, and I just don't know how much longer he's going to last. I'm going to put it over to you with Brentford. Obviously, they were fantastic. You can tell us a little bit more about them.
Yeah, no, I mean, I always think when you're a top team, when you're any team, the one teams you don't really want to play are the teams that have just got promoted. I mean, obviously Liverpool did really well and just did an unbelievably professional job against Norwich. I thought Watford did the same, and Brentford as well. So Brentford played on the energy of that euphoria of going up and then having the crowds back as well. I mean, the crowds, I know you mentioned it, we can't mention it enough. It makes a huge difference now. If Brentford played Arsenal without a crowd, it'd suit Arsenal more because the game would be slower. The crowds give you an extra 10%, and that intensity, which probably made a difference and ended up winning it for them. You know what I mean? And probably some of those refereeing decisions as well. Those tight ones when the crowd, you don't care what anyone says. The referees do get swayed by it. And I know you did ask me about Brentford, but just one other point before I forget. I thought the referee was absolutely brilliant this weekend, and the reason why it was. I don't know if they've watched the Euros and thought those referees have done it really well. They've let a lot go. And they did exactly the same. There were so many games where the players had rolled down and they just let it go. 2 seconds later, they were up. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So players are going to have to learn. But yeah, no, it's going back to Brentford. I thought top notch. I thought Ivan Toney were good. I thought they bullied Ben White. They went direct quite a bit and they just targeted Ben White and he just couldn't win a header. Now, you paid 50 million for the centre half. The one thing you've got to be able to do is win a header. You know what I mean? So I think a lot of teams will have seen that and identified that as a weakness because Ben White's going to be playing every game because it's 50 million. You know, you're not going to buy him and put him bench. So that's quite an easy. You know, you'll obviously probably not go back to front as much as Brentford. Maybe go from out wide from the halfway line or something, from full back areas. But it's a weakness, and it's not. It's a typical Arsenal weakness where they've got a soft centre. Yes. But yeah, just going back to Brentford, even the goal that they scored as well when Ponce Janssen just pinged himself onto Bent Leno, it was just weak. That's what it was. It was just weak Arsenal defending. Do you know what I mean? And I know quite a few Arsenal fans, and they were all losing their shit. And I get why, because like you said, you got outfought. That's something you can never ever, as a fan, accept your team getting outfought.
Yeah, that's the brush that they're tarred with now. Like Arsenal are very weak. You know, they might say that Spurs are Spursy, but Arsenal are now renowned as a very weak team. Like you say, with a soft centre, they've just never replaced those invincibles. Like I know you can't just go out and buy invincible. You can't just go and do that. But they still haven't addressed the problem. Like a top-notch CDM, like anyone in there who can just basically put a foot in. And I don't mean just put a foot in. I mean, obviously dictate and control the game. You still got the likes of Xhaka in there. And, for me, that's not Arsenal quality. And I just think that they're going to struggle. And to be honest, I don't see them being any different from what they were a season and a half ago. I don't know whether he's trying to implement his own style, but it seems like they recycle the ball very well. They manage to return the ball very well. But when it comes down to final third, it's just a simple cross into the box and it just doesn't seem to work. And, can you see Arteta in the job for much longer?
No, I saw today his favourite next to go and his price keeps on tumbling. So I can't imagine him staying. There's rumours of Eddie Howe to replace him, which I think could probably be a bit better. I mean, let's not beat about the bush. Arteta got the job because he's Guardiola's mate. You know what I mean? The fact he's an ex-Arsenal player kind of helps, but he's got no experience of being a manager. You know what I mean? He seems to talk and say all the right things, in the interviews, but the teams that he puts out is, we've seen Granit Xhaka play for years. We've seen Callum Chambers play for years. You're not going to turn them into good Premier League players because they're not. Do you know what I mean? You can't suddenly just go, this is the way I want to play. Xhaka can get in the ball. Great. He had a decent Euros. There's games where he can play all right. But the vast majority of the time, he's just weak. Same with Chambers playing at right back. Fuck me. He's shit. I don't care what he said. I know he's a professional player and professional players are good, but as a Premier League standard player, he's shit. Would he get in the Brentford team? No. And that just, there's players there. And then we talk about the recruitment. This absolutely mind-boggling. You let Emi Martinez go for 20 million and now you're trying to get Aaron Ramsdale in for 30 million. And Martinez is a better keeper than Leno. There's so many things that are wrong with that club. And I don't think just getting rid of Arteta and bringing someone else in will fix it. They'll finish where they're going to finish. I'd imagine they'll be sort of mid-table. Do you know what I mean? They'll play the odd decent game. They might beat someone else because they've had a great, game of complete possession and everything sort of come off for them. But the grand scheme of things, they don't know how to play when it's not going well for them, and that's ultimately what makes top teams.
Well, yeah, I think you just hit the nail on the head there. When it's not going well for them, like they haven't got someone like a manager that's had the experience of the tough times. Someone who's going to get them out of it. I go back to earlier when the lower teams actually pick on the bigger teams and I think, we're going to get a result today. They won't do that with Chelsea. They won't do that with Man City. They won't do that with Liverpool and to some extent Man United. You think momentum's an absolute massive thing in football and they've just continued that momentum on. You think of even the best teams, you think of Liverpool last season in January. Didn't we get beat at home for about 3 years, something like that? Yeah. And then all of a sudden, one defeat turned into seven home defeats, I think it was in the end. Yeah. Or we didn't win for 7 games, something like that. But we had the manager that was constantly able to turn things around. And then we went on an unbeaten run for the last 10, 11 games. And we might have even won 10 out of 11, something like that. But Arteta isn't that man. You mentioned lastly, you mentioned Eddie Howe. There's also talk of Conte. Do you see that as a fit?
Wow, Antonio Conte going to Arsenal. That is a manager that will change shit up there, and they do well. But I mean, he's turned Spurs down, hasn't he? I'd say Spurs are in a better position at the moment than Arsenal. Does he get there? Does he go there and Arsenal say you can have whatever money you want, and he changes his mind and he's like, yeah. I think if they got Conte, then everything that I've said is bad about him, that'll be going all out the window, because he'll be getting all those shit out of the window as well, because he is an absolute strict manager, but one of the best in the world as well. I mean, he just, like I said, he just brought that Juventus dominance in Serie A, but with Inter, obviously won it, and he left because they said there's no money, and he obviously wants, he had ideas of who he's got to get, and it's shown with Inter getting rid of Hakimi and Lukaku now as well. But no, Conte obviously he's like top manager. Eddie Howe, good, but not quite so good. And I mean, Eddie Howe's still an improvement over Arteta, because he's obviously, we talk about managers that have managed in tough times. He obviously managed when Bournemouth went down, and he had them. He's worked through the leagues, hasn't he? Do you know what I mean? And I would like him to have that opportunity, because I think he'll do well. And he's just, I think he'd be a better manager to play under as well. I think Arteta seems to have this edge as well. Even in the interviews and stuff whereas Eddie Howe seems to be a bit more measured in his approach, and we know the type of football he's going to play. His teams aren't going to play too much different to where Arteta plays. You know what I mean? He's obviously a possession-based manager, but yeah, I just think that the changes, getting rid of Arteta on its own, ain't going to fix it. But this podcast isn't all about Arsenal, so we're going to swiftly move along.
Yeah, so obviously moving on to Manchester United. So at Old Trafford on Saturday, it was the early kickoff. They pretty much took Leeds apart the second half. It seemed like it was a very even game, and you think about the game between the two last year at Old Trafford. It was quite similar in a sense. Is there anything that surprised you about Manchester United?
No, I mean, Leeds were in the game, and it's a mad 5 minutes which has changed the game. Do you know what I mean? I don't think there was. I mean, Leeds still had chances there, and it's. The thing is, for any team to play, Man United to play, they would have probably picked Leeds, because Leeds just go 1v1. And I'm going to mention the crowd again, because that played a huge part. It's whatever, 60, 70,000 fans there, whatever they had, I don't know. But it was obviously really, really loud, and it made a huge difference. So once they've got that first goal when Greenwood scored, like Luke Ayling scored, and if they did not concede for the next 10 minutes, I think the game may well have been different. But they've literally conceded a couple of minutes later. The crowd are back on it. And then they've scored another one. Do you know what I mean? So within about 5 or 6 minutes, the game's just complete. They're just dead. Leeds are dead. So I wouldn't read. I mean, I thought Bielsa was interesting. He said that the scoreline didn't reflect the game, and to an extent, I agree with him. But I think Leeds are going to be fine. Do you know what I mean? But I wouldn't judge Man United and how good they're going to be for the rest of the season on that performance alone.
It's important to keep balanced when we're obviously doing our preview just off of one game. To me, I'm the same as you. I expect a lot more from Man United this season. I expect a bit more of a challenge. Like people say that they were in a title challenge last year, they weren't. They were nowhere near a title challenge. They just came right towards the end, and they were always there and thereabouts, but it wasn't really a challenge. But yeah, I expect more from this year, and obviously, they've essentially delivered on a result basis, beating Leeds 5-1. But yeah, like you said, that the crowd thing was a massive thing again. When Varane came out before the game, I saw a clip of that, and the noise, it was probably louder than any of the goals that they scored. And obviously, they're bringing him in. They're bringing in Sancho to add to that. So, starting off the season with a 5-1 win, nothing to be smirking about, I suppose. Mason Greenwood was brilliant. I thought he was excellent. He's one that's
I mean, obviously Cavani, they've got him again for this season, and I think Cavani's top notch. But ultimately, he's getting on a bit, so he's not. And Greenwood is the future. He's going to end up playing the 9 eventually. And I thought he took his goal. He took his goal brilliantly. One player who I think was brilliant, and we mentioned it before, and I think his Man United's best player was Pogba. He scored the 4 assists, and he was brilliant. I mean, the only issue, you got Fernandes going to get all the plaudits because he's got the hat-trick, but Pogba were just like, wow, unbelievable. And I just feel the way he plays Pogba whenever they play big games, he'll end up playing on the wide left of the front three. Sorry, the three behind the striker. And I just think for him to get his absolute best, I think it's almost like you've got to play him central, but then it's like you trade, it's a bit of a trade-off for saying, you can't defend. It's in McTominay and Pogba. I'd imagine that'll be the team, that'll be the two he'll play when he's playing against teams that he expects to dominate. But in the big games, I'd imagine Pogba will be playing from the left. But I thought, Pogba's, he is. I mean, I think the biggest problem they've got now is getting him tied down to a long-term contract because he's obviously it was last year and going. But Pogba, I think he's certainly. I mean, I know Graham Souness just wants every excuse he can to nail him, but for me, Pogba's Man United's best player.
He is, and that's one thing that I want to ask you. Do you think there's any chance? I can't see him signing up for another contract when he has the potential to join the likes of Messi, Neymar, and basically in his home country next year on a free. Do you see?
I think. I mean. The financial side of it, people can say he's rich enough. Fuck that, man. It'll probably be, you're under your contract now. You are a huge asset. You've got a price that you deserve to be paid. Now, if as Man United can obviously cover whatever PSG are going to pay, but obviously when you do join a new club, we talk about PSG signing all these players and buying them for zero. They've not paid zero. They've paid millions and millions signing on fees, and then it's not the best transfer because that's just stupid. Because you've got to pay him, I don't know, Wijnaldum, what's he got? Probably got 30 million signing on fee and then whatever his wage. And then at times that, it'll be more for Ramos, it'll be more for Messi, you know what I mean? So we're talking not far off $500 million, for all them when all's said and done. I mean, the financial side of it, Pogba's obviously going to be going along and I don't see him staying. That's I just feel he feels he doesn't get the credit he deserves and he's probably not as loved as much by, I don't know. I mean, we're not Man United fans, so I can't really sort of become a Man United fan and think. But I'd imagine the feeling I get is he doesn't feel loved and appreciated as much as he should be for the playing ability he does. Fernandes, yes. Pogba, no. I just think he's too easy to make him a scapegoat whenever something doesn't go right.
Yeah, I see that from United fans. He is in and out. He has been in and out with obviously injury, but a lot of the times when you're not feeling loved, you don't want to play. If you are feeling loved by the fans and you're everybody's best player and that, you kind of maybe go through the pain and play a little bit more. But I agree with you. I think he is on his way out. But top draw. But going back to the game itself, like this for me, it wasn't a shock. Like I asked you at the beginning, was it something you were surprised about? It wasn't a surprise for me because United done the same thing last year. Obviously, this type of game isn't going to be the game that defines United. Last season, they struggled against Chelsea, Liverpool, Man United. The top six teams. They find it difficult to break down the best of the best. They normally retreated into a low block and played like as if they were one of the lower teams. So that'll be the challenge that they have, which I think they will do better this season. But again, we'll put our predictions at the end. So moving on to Leicester. Would you consider Leicester a title challenger this year?
No. I mean they'll do well. Rodgers is good. They obviously their recruitment is bang on. I think Leicester, absolutely fine. I thought the game against Wolves could have gone either way. Obviously Leicester have scored and it's they've done well. I think Yannick Vestergaard's a good signing, really good signing. That 15 million, I think, is a good centre half. That's some really good business. Good cover whilst Fofana's out. I mean it wasn't anything. That we didn't know from that. And I thought Wolves were good in that. The new manager first game, I thought they did well, and they've obviously Jimenez playing as well, playing the full 90. I think it was the full 90, and he played a good whack of it anyway. I thought that was really good. Obviously, didn't score for our fantasy Premier League team, so that's another matter. I'm not bitter. And then obviously we moved on to the Liverpool game. I imagine you watched that. So that was the first time we had centre halves back, first choice centre halves, and having four of them. Two on the bench. Yeah. Who would have thought? What did you think? What was your? I've actually not asked you what were your thoughts. We didn't even message because we just sort of thought it's comfortable this one. Yeah. We don't need to do it. What did you think?
Well, I was actually away for a mate's birthday in York, and the one prerequisite of the full day was I would have to find somewhere to watch the match, and in the end, I ended up watching it on my mobile phone in the hotel. While ironing my jeans with a pair of hair straighteners. My missus, not mine, obviously. So I was watching the game anyway how I could. And yeah, I thought we were very professional. You said it right at the beginning. I don't think we were brilliant. I just thought we just done what required. We all know how difficult it is to go to a newly promoted team, especially away from home. With the fans. Again, they were a lot like Brentford. They were well up for it, and I just thought we handled it really well. They started off really well, Norwich, and we just kind of weathered it a little bit and then grew into the game. Naby Keita started getting on the ball a lot. And yeah, I thought Mo Salah was absolutely outstanding. I don't think he's going to be the type of player where you don't realise how good he is until he's actually gone. Right now he is a Liverpool legend already in my eyes. He's absolutely brilliant. His numbers are out there. I think I saw a stat the other day that he scored the same amount as Ronaldo in less than 90 games, Premier League games. So yeah, again, unbelievable. But yeah, going at the centre backs, it was great to see Burge back. There was a couple of instances where he looked like he was out of position, but again, that'll come with time. I thought Matip was excellent. I can't remember the last time Matip had a bad game. I thought he was absolutely brilliant. And then Tsimikas, decent. Trent, steady away. I thought the midfield was industrious. But other than that, I'm just happy that we just got the 3 points. It was an impressive performance in the clean sheet. What about yourself?
Yeah, no, I thought once you see the back four, you think we're going to win. Do you know what I mean? Yes. And I look at the league, and I think we're going to make our predictions in a bit. And we're going to speak, about stuff after we've covered the Man City game. But no, I thought the game, the centre halves were good. I thought we played. It was a real professional performance. I thought there were moments where we, in the second half, when we got the second goal, I thought it could have been 5 or 6. Do you know what I mean? When Norwich were really open, there was a really crude tackle from Todd Cantwell on Diogo Jota in the second half when he was going through. And I know he's trying to stop the game, but those can be like really bad. And Jota's obviously got up and it's gone from there. But I thought Trent's delivery was class. I thought Tsimikas did okay, and I'm glad he played Tsimikas and he didn't play Milner there. Because I'm like, do you know what I mean? Just you got a left back playing, because the game's different when it's on his left foot. At least he's trying to cross. He had some good deliveries from corners as well. But I thought when Fabinho came on, we just looked. We looked different class. I thought that was when we looked. I was like, yeah, you get Fabinho in that midfield, you get those back too. You're missing Thiago and Henderson as well. We're going to go out in that midfield. Do you know what I mean? Fabinho, Thiago, Henderson, our first choice midfield, and they weren't even on the. And I still thought we've got to get them three in together, get the front three. Bobby scored, which was good. I thought Sadio Mane looked sharp, or Salah was just, Salah's just Salah. And I agree with you. I did put a tweet out. So there's 2 players who I felt just never got the credit in the Premier League. Aguero being one, and I think Salah again. And I think they're both very similar. I don't know if they're flashy enough or what, but yeah, they just didn't get the credit.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So obviously we're going to go on to our predictions in a bit. The other remaining team, which we believe probably are in the title race on Saturday, were Chelsea. Obviously, they played against Southampton. Thoughts on their game? Now we're missing a few players as well, and they're coming up against maybe a revitalised Crystal Palace under Vieira. Obviously, a long time under Roy Hodgson. So, thoughts on Palace and Chelsea?
Yeah, Palace are poor. I didn't expect anything else but Chelsea. I mean, Chelsea could have put a reserve team when they were there, so would have probably sneaked it. Yeah, Palace had a poor side. Nothing. You know what? Chelsea's a good side. They just won, and it was quite comfortable as well. Nothing else to add to that. Swiftly moving on to the Man City Spurs game, which I thought was really interesting. Obviously, Nuno's first game, Grealish's first game for Man City. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so obviously the talk before the game was whether Harry Kane would actually make the squad. In the end, obviously it appears that he doesn't. I don't know whether that has anything to do with the situation with the transfer, whether it's that the negotiating is going on, or whether Harry Kane just doesn't fancy it or what. But the fact is the team put a shift in without him, and I think that they showed the future without him. I thought they were very fluid. The front three, Bergwijn, Son and Moura, they were absolutely excellent. Match of the day showed it on numerous occasions. They just looked like 3 sprinters. Anytime that the low block worked, they were just off, and they just caused Manchester City no end of problems. Obviously, it didn't help that Man City had a defender in Benjamin Mendy, who was probably one of the worst defenders like defender, one of the worst that I've ever seen. Cancelo, again, I think he's absolutely amazing going forward, but defensively, he looked so out of place, and especially against Leicester as well in the Community Shield. He got absolutely tore apart by Harvey Barnes. So for me, the Tottenham players basically gave Harry Kane a big fuck you and told him basically we can do this with or without you. I think Son stepped up absolutely amazingly, especially for his goal. Likes of Dyer, Sanchez, they've come under a lot of criticism last year. They were excellent. Tanganga, is that the one? Yeah, Tanganga. He just set the mark early on. Just told Raheem, "You're not going anywhere." Grealish the same. On to Man City, Grealish, I thought was probably Man City's best player. Obviously, Kevin De Bruyne wasn't on the pitch. They were missing a few players. And when I say they were missing a few players, they were actually on the bench. And I was very surprised that Kevin De Bruyne came on so late. I think he came on in the last 10 minutes. And I know that can be very frustrating for the Man City supporters, because even me watching, I was thinking, you've got to get him on with about half an hour to go to potentially turn this game on its head, because I couldn't see Man City scoring. They had chances here and there, but in reality, I thought Tottenham controlled the game, and obviously I think they deserved the win. What about yourself?
I agree. I thought, I agree to parts of it. I mean, you mentioned Mendy and Cancelo defence. I thought Nathan Ake was dog shit, and he's not fit for Man City. I'm surprised he didn't have John Stones, and I thought Son, when he defending against Son for the goal, was pretty brutal. Distances, he didn't get close enough just to allow him. You know he was going to do a step over in his shot, and it's. Yeah, I mean, the keeping wasn't, he's unsighted, but whatever. Jack Grealish probably you're saying is, but I'd actually say De Bruyne was the best player for Man City, even for the 15 or 20 minutes he was on, and he was that good.
10 minutes.
Whatever. I still think for the 10 minutes, he's more than that 10 minutes. You just get him. His passing is unbelievable. He does stuff that you're watching on the TV, and you can see everything, and even you struggle to see it sometimes, but he finds a path somewhere to find another light blue shirt. I thought they didn't have a centre forward, and I thought going with Torres down the middle was stupid. Then he brings Jesus on and he plays him wide. I sometimes think he tries to overthink stuff. You know what I mean? Just get like Jesus is your only 9. If you're going to play that, stick him up front. If you're going to play a false 9, don't play Torres as a false 9, because he's not a false 9. And at midfield, I thought it was okay. I thought Gundogan and Fernandinho were what you can expect. Again, Man City had most of the ball. It's nothing new. Spurs defending. It felt very much like the Spurs performance when they beat them 1-0 last season. So I wouldn't be getting too excited if I'm a Spurs fan and all that stuff is great. But I don't.
A bit of a hoodoo at their crown, don't they? They have a hoodoo at their crowns.
Yeah, I don't think Man City getting beat by them and Spurs, I don't think it's not dictate anything or is indicator for what lies ahead in the season. It's great. Man City have lost, and obviously gives you the title challenges that slight, because it'll be these sort of games where you're looking for your title challenges to fall apart. I still don't think Spurs are going to finish in the top 4, but you never know. Nuno might surprise me.
I just think it really emphasised the need for City to get someone like Harry Kane. I know it's a one-off game, but you could probably Man City could potentially look at this game a few times this season, where they need a goal scorer on the pitch, and obviously the likes of Jesus and the other lad who was up front. Torres, I don't think Torres. Yeah, I don't think Torres is going to do a job. I don't think it's going to cut this season. I think the best that they can hope for is probably maybe Raheem or maybe Kevin De Bruyne as a false 9.
Yeah.
But yeah, just your thoughts on Tottenham going forward with that front 3?
I think it's obviously they need a striker regardless if Kane stays or goes, because if you can't be playing Son down the middle all the time. I think Son's better from wide areas. Lucas Moura I've always thought was good. And I thought Bergwijn was underplayed under Mourinho. I thought he should have played him more. I was interested. I don't think Dele Alli was brilliant. I thought he was. He wasn't he wasn't like what we associate Dele Alli with, but what he was hard working. But I mean, Dele Alli, I've not seen him play probably for about a year. Do you know what I mean? Because he was never playing under Mourinho, so it's. I mean, I thought Tanganga was brilliant. You've got really tight and aggressive against Sterling. Didn't let him turn, let him, but Sterling were pulling him back. Do you know what I mean? So he really dominated. And quite rightly got a man of the match as well. So that's us having watched the first quick. It's not really quick, but we've done a recap of the first games and main title challenges. and a few others. So we're going to go back. We're going to moving on to our sort of main bit of the podcast, where we're going to have a look and see who we think is going to win it, who's going to finish top four, and who we think is going to get relegated. And I was going to say first manager to get sacked, but I think that's looking pretty likely to be Arteta. So I'll kick off. I'll ask you the question first. Who do you think is going to win it and top four?
We going to win it first, yeah. Okay. So I'm going to go with Man City. Obviously, I hope Liverpool do. I just think our squad, I'm not sure it's going to be enough. The quality's there, absolutely the quality's there, but with a couple of injuries, the internationals, the potential for the African nations and that, couple of nations, I just think that Man City squad will be just be too strong. I do think we'll offer a mighty challenge against them. I do think this is going to be a very close run thing again. As for United, I think they'll be there and thereabouts, but I think maybe they'll die off towards the end of the season. I just think that Pogba will get an injury at some point. Like you say, he is their best player. I think he's their best player. Bruno Fernandes, he got very lucky last season. I think they were very lucky for him not to have any kind of injuries last season. And yeah, Chelsea will be, again, I don't want to keep saying it, Chelsea will be there and thereabouts. So I think it's a toss-up between us and Chelsea, who are going to finish second, and then Man City, Man City will maybe win it by a couple of points. What about yourself?
It's interesting because obviously if we did this before the first game, everyone was banging on about Chelsea and Man City because they were Man United, who the players they've bought. Liverpool haven't bought anyone. And I don't know why there's this clamber for fans to want new players, and they think the players, if they find someone for 100 million, that suddenly means they're going to get, they're going to win the league, or they're going to get an extra 20 points. Football doesn't work like that. I just wanted to get our centre halves back, and I thought, we're still a brilliant team with the same team. You take the first half of the season out where we had no centre halves, and once we decided to put two centre halves, regardless, they were two shit centre halves, and then you put your midfield in the right place, and just the last sort of 10 games of the season just short. That's us. I think the winner will come from us or Man City, and I literally I can't call it at the moment. I think if they get Harry Kane, that'll certainly give them a massive edge. But even then, it doesn't mean they're just going to absolutely walk it, because football does not work like that. I'm glad that I said that the centre halves and getting cover for that was my only worry. I think we're well covered in other areas. My only thing is I just want Origi to go, like literally go, because I don't ever want to be in a position where one of them get injured, and if we're needing a goal, he takes one of the front three off to bring Origi, because he never does anything, Brilliant, he did in the Champions League and Barcelona, and he's going to be a legend forever for that. I think he's lived off them goals a bit too much now, so it's time to fuck off for him. I thought Man United, I was surprised at the team. I still thought there was, I mentioned this last year and the year before, I thought they've got a lot of average players, and they seem to come to the fore again. So you've got Fred playing, you've got Dan James starting for him, I'm thinking, who have they really got missing? Do you know what I mean? They had Sancho and Varane and Cavani. Do you know what I mean? And I suppose Rashford as well. But then the question comes, and I think this will be the issue for him on what he does. So the big games, and he's going to go on McTominay and Fred, and then he's got Pogba, Fernandes, and does he play Rashford or does he play Sancho? So if you can't play Rashford, because Pogba's a player from the left, Sancho will play from the right, and it'll just be Cavani or Greenwood. So I think there's a lot of question marks to see how he sets them up. He might already have the answer, know exactly what he's going to do. I still think there's players there that shouldn't really be near their starting 11, even with a couple of players missing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what you said. There's perfect. Like when it comes down to the big games, they're going to go with Fred and McTominay. Yeah, and I just think that that midfield just can't win a league. It can't win against the best teams when they go head to head with each other. I just don't see that midfield winning it.
The thing for me is it's not so much the players, and I've mentioned it to my Man United mates who do listen, hi Jammer, that United are not going to win a Premier League with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in charge. He's just not a Premier League winning. If they end up winning it, and I'll eat my hat that away every now and again. Solskjaer's not, you know what I mean? Me and you could have probably done what he's done. He's not like, didn't Mourinho win it? Mourinho, as much as he was getting absolutely nailed, he finished second. He won an FA Cup as well, didn't he? He won whatever, he won a trophy. So it's not, you still ask me, I don't know what Man United's style of play is. Do you know what I mean?
Let's say you took away the style and, how far would you say that they're away from winning the title? Like I see that squad almost capable of challenging for a title, but they're still like we just said there.
Do you know what they're
missing
missing?
that other centre midfielder.
No, do you know what they're missing? They're missing a manager. That's it. Yeah, if they get a man, if they had a see, if Antonio Conte went there, for example, I would put them right in the mix. Like literally, I wouldn't be able to split them. Them with us in Man City. I'd go that high. I still think the Liverpool and Man City are still the two best teams in the league, and they've shown that over the last few years. I know Chelsea have had a good one half of a season. That's ultimately what he came. You know what I mean? I still think it's them two, and I don't think it doesn't make a difference how much you spend. And fans obviously buzz off the fact, they bought someone for 70, 80 million, 100 million, and I just think it'll be time. I think Chelsea it's going to be an interesting one for Chelsea because they've obviously had Tuchel hasn't had to deal with any adversity. Everything's been smooth sailing for Chelsea. Just they made it into the top four. They made it into the Champions League. They nearly missed out on the top four places, didn't they, with Leicester? Sneaking in, and it was Spurs that had to help them get over the line. So I just think it's not. Chelsea have got a phenomenal squad. I don't know. I just don't. It's a tough one in the Premier League. It really is. You can have all the players and everything you want, but it's having that combination of players, managers, experience, and knowing how to win games when you're playing poorly. That's what dictates it. Liverpool and Man City have shown that a lot in the last few years. So I think it'll be them two, and again, I think the other two. But again, Leicester could quite easily finish in the top four. And I think this is the most. What I will say, this is the most exciting Premier League season for a long, long time. I think the fact you throw your fans in there as well, that gives it an extra edge as well.
Yeah. Can you see anyone creeping into the top four? Is there anyone that you tip for the top four if it isn't going to be one of them?
Yeah, I think the obvious ones are Leicester and Spurs. Again, I don't know how well Nuno's going to do. If Harry Kane doesn't go and he stays with Spurs, yeah, absolutely, they're going to be. Do you know what I mean? They'll be a real threat to finishing our top four. We always say top four. You seem to have a set top four in your head, and teams and bookmakers have got favourites as they are the top four. But the leagues, once the season starts, it's not played on paper. You know what I mean? How teams play and perform. Like Leicester last season should have finished in the top four, but they fell apart. They did the same thing the season before. Now, if they're going to get in the same position, will they learn from those experiences? You'd imagine they will. I think they did well getting Vestergaard and knew full well we can't just keep playing them. You know what I mean? Now in the transfer window, that was good, sharp, quick business. That. So I think Leicester and Spurs against Spurs. The question with Spurs is, do they keep Kane and do they get another striker in?
Yeah, no West Ham. No, you haven't mentioned
no. West Ham. I know Mike listens to us. Sorry, Mike, but West Ham is a big West Ham fan, but. Now I don't want to say it's a one season wonder, but they're not going to finish that high. Last season was a weird season with no fans, and it was a COVID hit season. I'd really not read too much into last season, and I can't emphasize that enough. We'll see where we finish this year, and I just think having the fans back's a great thing. But for me, it looks like it's those top four with obviously Leicester and Spurs challenging. It's not rocket science. I think most people would probably say the same, but in terms of winning it, I think it's between Liverpool and Man City.
Yeah. I was impressed. Lastly, I was impressed with West Ham against Newcastle, the way that they were able to come back. But again, whereas a lot of the
just going to hold you there. Impressed against Newcastle. Newcastle are fucking
I know
with your mate
Newcastle.
Steve Bruce in charge. Oh man, do you know what I mean? If anyone else, anyone else but Steve Bruce. How's he a Premier League manager? Mike Ashley just thinks I don't want to give any compensation, so to anyone to get rid of anyone. So it's just his way of doing it.
It's always difficult when you go behind against any team, But again, I think that West Ham will do well this season, especially with the players that they've brought in. But like we say, there with most of the teams that have been benefiting from the crowd, it'll be interesting to see how they go back into their stadium because they don't seem to mingle too well in there. Lastly, just before we go, we'll just do a quick one on the relegated teams. I know you mentioned Crystal Palace. You've also spoke about Newcastle. Is there any other surprises, or do you think it's just going to be them two and another?
No, I think Palace. It's tough. You don't want to make the decision on the first one, but Palace. I always think how you finish this previous season has an impact on the start of the next. So Palace have been pretty poor, and it's not like he's bought a few players in, but they know that's going to sort of get you off your seat. I think the newly promoted teams, they've got to play. Every time you come, you've got to play on that wave of, when you're coming up, that euphoria of coming up and playing on that high. So just to get as many points as you can there. Because once you hit sort of November, Christmas time, it's like, fuck's it, you know what I mean? You're going to be grinding and battling. I think Southampton might struggle as well. But yeah, I mean, obviously the promoted teams could go down, but I'm just thinking teams that could potentially struggle. I think Burnley might be another one. I think, there's only so much that Sean Dyche can do because, he's done miracles. I know he gets said a lot, but he's done unbelievable.
Burnley were one that I was looking at of the usual teams that managed to stay in the Premier League. What I do think Crystal Palace, Norwich, and the other team that I had was Newcastle. Yeah, I think them are going to be my three to go down. Have you got a definitive three?
I have, just that you've asked me now. So I'll go Palace, Burnley, and I like Norwich, but I think Norwich might just, again, I'll leave the other one, but I'll say it's between Norwich and Watford.
He's not sitting on the fence. You should get a job on Match of the Day.
I'm giving you 4. I'm giving you 4. Can't give you 3.
All right. Well, as we always say, guys, if you've watched this long, we actually always mean to make this around about a 20-minute podcast, just so we don't bore fans of you. But in reality, we went a little bit longer than normal. But if you've managed to make it all the way to the end, I want you to put in the chat spaghetti. Just put the word spaghetti in, just so we know any of you has managed to actually get to the end of it.
Yeah, that actually be really good. And as always, we do have a question of the day. It's not going to be rocket science. It's not, we've really thought long and hard about this. But the question for the day for you guys is really simple. Who do you think is going to win the Premier League? Just put it again in the comments alongside spaghetti.
Alongside spaghetti, yeah. So if you've made it all the way to the end, why not subscribe? You might as well. You've listened to us all the way through, and why not like that video while you're there? So again, thanks for joining us. We'll be reviewing, I believe we'll be reviewing match week 2, and also a couple of the transfers coming up on the coming week. I think there might be a couple in the pipeline. Hopefully,
yeah. I think we'll have one on. We'll have a transfer deadline special, and obviously we're trying to keep the videos going. I know we've had there's quite a few videos in our library now. We don't realise we just keep rattling them through, but we do try and keep them short. But once we start talking about football, we just love the game and we get a bit passionate and we forget we're actually recording a podcast until it's time for me to edit. And I'm like, fuck's sake, this is longer than I thought. But yeah, no, as always, guys, thank you for listening. Like and subscribe, do all that fancy stuff. We'll see you in the next one, guys. Bye.
Good luck, guys.